Can you keep a secret?
Changing hearts and minds.
Changing hearts and minds.
Welcome to Change Your POV podcast. You're listening to Changing Hearts and Minds, a show about reviving the warrior spirit and remembering the past to improve our future. I'm your host, Jeff Adamick. Let's get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I totally screwed or what? You're funny.
I want to discuss all this behavior.
Let me out of here!
But you know what? What's really cool is we actually are recording. We don't even have to pretend.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, there's that also.
Yeah, there's that.
Hey guys, welcome to Changing Hearts and Minds. I am your host, Jeff. It's a slow week, guys. It's a slow week. That's an absolute lie. It is not a slow week.
Hell no. I was going to say, speak for your damn self, brother.
Yeah, right. It is busier than shit. If you guys don't recognize the voice of the man behind the curtain, that is the one, the only, Eddie Larari.
Yeah, Larari.
No, it's Lazari. And just for a little backstory, guys, on my phone, since I've met Eddie, I apparently, when I first put his name in my phone, I misspelled his name Larrire. And
wow.
Just the other day, I realized that I was getting a phone call at work from my good friend, Eddie Larari, instead of Eddie Lazari. And I had to go in there and adjust it after me and him had a good laugh at I mean, I had a TBI, for God's sakes. I mean, there's something
yeah.
I should be able to get away with.
But how many times can you pull that card, though?
Well, now I can't because we just told everybody in the podcasting world. But yeah, there are moments where I do forget things like my birthday or my wife's birthday or the anniversary or the day of the week that ends in Y or
right.
Not spend money or that there's all kinds of things that I forget curiously, like taking the trash out on Sundays during football season. Those are things that I just can't help.
That slipped my mind too.
Yeah, so we want to welcome Eddie.
Hello, sir.
Lazari.
I'm
to the show today.
I'm happy to finally be on your show. I've been waiting for an invite to finally.
Eddie, if I remember correctly, you're on the first episode of my show.
Am I? Oh, the introductory. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's true.
That happened like 2 months ago.
God, it was a while ago, huh?
Let's talk about how I forget shit.
Okay.
No, let's not. Let's talk about how you just forgot that you were on my show.
I forgot about the introductory episode, and of course, yes. I have some cameo appearances on the intro of all of your shows, saying like, "Changing hearts and minds, changing hearts and minds." That's me. Yes.
Yeah. You know what? That is the one thing. So I get all these people who call me up and friends of mine, and I love your show, bro. How many times are you gonna say "changing hearts and minds" in the intro? I'm like, to be quite honest with you, I only say it once.
Right.
I'm like, I cannot help the Tourette syndrome that my co-hosts have on the network that causes them to say it over and over again.
It's definitely hard to forget the name of your show, for sure.
No, it is definitely. Well, I mean, that's not just because of the spectacularly high, great rate of content that I have, but also because I browbeat the hell of it into you.
That's right.
One thing I'm good at, it's wearing people down my way. And if you don't believe that, I'm married to a woman who's well aware of me browbeating people down to get my way.
Yeah.
Today's show, guys, is brought to you by my inability to keep my mouth shut. And what that means is there are some things I just wanted to talk about on this show. I didn't want to get into a topic that I was strap-hung to. I wanted to just riff, get some conversation out there. What you guys don't get the benefit of seeing so many times with guys like me, Eddie, Bennett, Andrew, Dwayne, and Kevin is the fact that we will get on phone calls, we will get on meetings, and we will have some of the best conversations ever. And then we realize afterwards that we were not recording it. I know that you cannot plan out having a great conversation, but what you can do is take the time every once in a while, just get on with a buddy, start shooting the shit and see what comes out. Now, I do have some things I want to cover in the show, but basically we're just going to see where this goes. So I can't tell you what the name of this show is going to be because I'm going to come up with the answer to that after we're done recording.
That sounds good.
Eddie, what do you think about stuff like that?
I think it's a wonderful. I mean, because a lot of listeners may not know this, but we have for those of you that are familiar with Slack, you'll know what I'm talking about. But those that aren't, Slack is like an internal chat service kind of thing. It's almost like Messenger or text on your phone, but it has a lot of other built-in capability. And of course, the Change Your POV podcast network, we have our own Slack channel where it's just all of us in it. And there's multiple channels within Slack, so we can kind of segregate our conversations. But could you imagine if we had a way to capture some of those conversations and put that on a podcast? That would be absolutely ridiculous, man.
It's funny you should mention that, Eddie, because I am going to give you guys a little bit of something.
Uh-oh, what'd you do?
Well, you were knee-deep inside the conversation. I am going to play the part of Jeff, Dwayne, and of Bennett, and read you just a couple lines from a conversation that happened actually today.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Now, let's pretend for a moment that everyone in the world knew that Jeff shoots from the hip. Not everything I say is absolutely the truth, but that doesn't mean I'm a liar. What I like to do is I like to joke around much like we do and expound and exaggerate some things for the sake of being funny. Now we have Dwayne, who, when this show airs, Dwayne will be a second week running host of his own show. That'll be, premiering next week. Which will be the week. Last week, if you listen to my show, you heard Dwayne. He was the psychologist on there who pretty much came to the conclusion that I'm Batman. And although he'll never admit that out loud, me and him both know that he's pretty much saying that I was Batman. So today we were talking about something in Slack about, well, I'll just go into it, all right? So Dwayne will be the voice of the deep guy, and I'll make sure I say who's saying what is this. But here's how the conversation goes. Bennett. Gentlemen, we have a new swag. Well, actually, let me help out here.
Yeah, that sounded very non-Bennett like.
I was just thinking about that. Well, I need to get Steve-O from Jackass.
That sounded like Bennett sucking on a helium balloon or something, maybe.
A helium balloon? Is that what you really wanted to go to? Remember, this is the R-rated show. A helium balloon may not be how you wanted to go with it, but he was sucking on a helium penis balloon. No.
Yes, definitely.
Anyway, so, all right, let me try it again.
Okay.
Bennett Canton. Gentlemen, we have new swag store mainly through Facebook. I only have two things up there right now, the T-shirt and the sweatshirt. Anything else you guys want to see besides assless chaps? Mm-hmm.
Well, you know why he asked that?
Because he wants assless chaps.
Well, no, because he texted me earlier on my phone and asked me if there's anything. I mentioned a coffee cup. Well, actually, he mentioned a coffee cup. And I said, I can't think of anything else unless there's an option for assless chaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
that was my request. So I think it was for.
I don't ever think I've seen assed chaps for there to be assless, but I digress. The response to that on there is Dwayne France, who, is it a used sweatshirt? I want the Jeff version. Bennett Canton. And then jumps in Jeff. Now, I can't do an impersonation of myself, but if you think of the most sexiest man in the world mixed with the most badass person in the world, that's the kind of voice. And this is what Jeff says. I am Jeff. My used old sweatshirts, they're for women only, Dwayne. Dwayne France. You're thinking too small time, Jeff. Consider it a franchising opportunity with branding possibilities and royalty revenue. McDonald's wouldn't be where it is today if Ray Kroc didn't franchise! Jeff. Well said. I then offer up for consideration my tissues used to clean up post-masturbatory messes. For sale on the website. Dwayne. I had a veteran once who told me I usually jump 3 levels to cut stuff off at the pass. I had a dismount in my vehicle who wouldn't shut up. I told him to shut up, and he didn't. So I took the fire extinguisher and sprayed him in the face. He shut up pretty quick after that. The conversation jumped a few levels. It got weird really quick, Jeff. And then Eddie comes in with oh my God. We need a show to tell stories about the shit we did to our guys in the trucks. I have a ton of fucked up stories. Some were dangerous, some were silly, and all were stupid. Dwayne, I have a story about my gunner who was pissed because the Hig shot his last energy drink. He had ducked to do ammo exchange, and when he got back up, the gun and boom was leaking. He wouldn't shut up about it. So I reminded him that the trajectory meant that he would have to be himself instead of the boom boom. Then there's a story where I dismounted after my truck was hanging over a cliff, and I cut him off. And I say, as a new Special Forces Junior Weapons Sergeant, I was the gunner on the team leader's GMV. I used to pull out my dick and let it hang in the face of the driver and the TC. It only got weird during firefights when my erect crank would poke them in the eye. Dwayne, didn't we have a conversation about jumping levels, Jeff? That was some real boss level weirdness, Jeff. And then I just said, oh, I thought it was an attaboy about jumping levels. I misunderstand. It's only weird in the pictures that the team took of him in the TC seat with my swinging member in his face. And then he goes on to try to change the subject as quickly as possible, not realizing the hilarity and comedic genius that is portraying on this. These are some of the things you guys miss. You guys
yes.
I mean, really, if you guys could sit there, I'm sitting in a room and, you know, guys, I am a inventory team lead at Cisco Systems. I am the one who handles building all of the network's devices that help run Facebook and Twitter and Citibank and this, that. Not my fault if they don't work.
Well, hold on. So
people around me. Well, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So just today, I sent you a message, and I told you to go check something out on the site. And the first thing you come back with is, I'm at work. Will this get me fired?
Well, because I have to do it on my work computer.
Well, yes.
Slack is done over my phone.
No,
big deal there.
But the point is, I said to you, that's a great question because you never can tell with this group, right? Which is
referring back to the conversation I just read to everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Over the show.
Right.
So anyway, bottom line is everyone at work is standing there laughing their ass off, reading over my shoulder as I'm having this conversation with Eddie and Dwayne and Bennett. Bennett's laughing his ass off. You Sling Blade. That's how Bennett laughs. In my head, yeah. I see Sling Blade and Steve-O mixed together when I think of Bennett. So all that's going on, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, the things that are missed out by our fans, by the people that we spend our hard-earned money and time to entertain, need to get out there. So hence I said, you know what, I'll just get somebody on tonight, and we'll just riff a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, moving in a different direction, let's talk about our fans. I love you guys. I love you guys to death. And I mean that. If it wasn't for you guys, we'd be talking to each other like we do on Slack, and you guys have already known how boring that could be, except for the people participating. So let's talk about Patreon real quick.
Okay.
So guys, Patreon is a website. It's kind of like a crowdfunding site. But what it is more of is it's a way for the people who listen to the shows like we have to be able to participate, help out, donate, and keep things running. Now, let me go ahead and caveat and disclaim this right off the bat. We are not here talking now because we are at risk of shutting the whole thing down because we're running out of money. But having said that, it does cost money and time for us to be able to do these shows. It costs quite a bit when you're talking about 4 different shows running. And although we're not at risk of running out of money, it does help a lot when you guys come out and you help us out. And having said that, I want to send out a very nice thank you to Mr. Tim Lease from Raleigh, North Carolina, and Mr. Scott Sadroga from Jersey City, New Jersey, because these two gentlemen have gone on to Patreon. And as I said on my Facebook page that I would mention people who went to Patreon and donated, I'm donating and sending a thank you out to those two gentlemen, especially Scott Zadroga, who has taken a deep, deep interest in my body and me being a pimp and wanting to mention to everyone how much he wants to see more of me.
Yes.
Because I'm a pimp and a badass. And if you don't believe me, Eddie, am I lying?
Not lying at all whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I actually went and got the most recent 2018 calendar just came out with the Chippendales crew, and I actually cut out your picture and pasted it on the faces, on the heads of everyone in the calendar.
And as well, everyone should be.
Right, absolutely.
Because I mean, that is just how sexy I am. So you're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome for having an image to look at and keeping your wives happy and interested.
Yes.
When you go to bed at night, you should be playing my show, listening to my voice, and flashing photos of me at your wife until she's so out of it that she really thinks that I'm there to help her out. And if that ain't working out for you, then I don't know what else I can do for you. But
yes,
I challenge you all. I challenge every single one of you out there who spend $1 at the store getting a candy bar, or spend $2 or $3 here, to go on to www.patreon.com/changeyourpov and dig down deep. Let's put our money where our mouths are. And I challenge you guys to come out and help us support us a little bit so we can keep helping the people that we're helping. because all joking put aside, we have a lot of things that we do that assist other people. And we spend a lot of our time mentoring, talking, bringing out subjects like what I've talked about with Jeff Dardia in the 2 shows that have recently been released. And to help us be able to push those shows out there, to help us be able to reach more of an audience, it does help out, and it does help us keep this stuff moving. Because in a perfect world, we would be able to bring in enough money to make this our only job. And can you imagine the quality of the shows you guys would get if I could spend 12 hours a day on prepping the show rather than 12 minutes a day prepping the show like I did before we did this one?
Yeah, man. And here's the thing too, right? And this is something that probably you don't even know. But I get approached quite a bit by folks that are interested in coming on the show and being a guest. A lot of them are, well, obviously most of them are veterans. A lot of them are entrepreneurs and authors and things like that. Like recently, I've just on the flagship podcast show, the Attack Friday, interviewed some authors, and both of these actually are 3 different authors, and all three of them sent me books, their own books, and they're like transitioning books, and there's some other really just really poignant stuff. One guy who the show hasn't released yet, but he wrote a book and like a journal, and he sent me 2 copies of each of them. And so the whole point is they want to give us some of their content for us to review, but also to give away to the audience. And I'd love to give stuff away to the audience, but unfortunately it costs money to ship this stuff, right? So it's the little things. Nothing in and of itself is expensive, but when you start adding up all the little things, it adds up. And everyone on the show, all the hosts of all the shows, we all have basically full-time jobs. So Change Your POV and the network and all of its shows and everything that we do is all extra time. It's time that we spend on the weekends and at nights or in the early mornings or whatever the case may be. So it's sacrificing time that we're taking away from our families and other things, but it also is coming all out of all of our pockets to fund. Like I said, there isn't one little thing that's really all that expensive, but when you add them all up, man, it does come to some money. And as we add more shows, we have to pay more in bandwidth in order to upload more shows. And, it gets expensive. Or Bennett and I, basically for almost 2 years, we were able to get away with only spending like $30 a month to support our shows for bandwidth. And as we introduce more shows, we're going to get up around over probably close to $100 a month just for the bandwidth, just for the podcast. That doesn't include the website and all the other tools that we use for, emails and all the other things that we do behind the scenes that nobody really actually sees. It costs some money, and we want to keep doing this because we know we're reaching an incredible audience, and we're not asking for a lot of money. We're asking for literally like a cup of coffee a month. If you can afford that, that would be really, really huge. It'll go a long way.
Right. And with the amount of people, I mean, because guys, we're getting close to having like 6,000 downloads a month.
Yeah.
So if let's say, and I know this is off the wall because I know for a fact that I listen to my show, I listen to Eddie and Bennett's show, I listen to Kevin's show, I will be listening to Andrew and Dwayne's show. So I know that you take about 5 or 6 of those downloads a month is just me. Having said that, guys, I put my money where my mouth is. I donate $10 a month to the fund. But having said that, if we had let's say for example, we did have 6,000 people that were out there downloading our shows. If every single one of those people donated $1, $6,000 a month could put Eddie and Bennett on full-time handling this stuff, pay for everything that we do, and be going towards us getting more listeners, getting more people along the line to be able to get Dwayne and Jeff to be doing this full-time, or
right.
Not even the full-time stuff, but just covering the cost of promotion, getting good guests on, doing all these different things, getting out there and doing some hands-on stuff with veterans and veterans organizations. We want to do these things. We want to do these things with no cost incurred to our families or our jobs. We will do them as much as we can when we can out of our own pockets, but the stuff does, I'll be honest with you, my wife loves supporting what I do, but we all have wives or we all have husbands, and we know that at some point they're just like, no, I don't want to spend that money anymore on this stuff. So it does help out. Now, having said that, I want you guys, if what you're saying when you go to the www.patreon.com, that's patreon.com/changeyourpov, CHANGEYOUR YOURPOV, and you take a look at the bone, because you do get something for donating. If you take a look at some of our of our gift plans and don't like or have better ideas for some of the things, I open up to go to jeff@changeyourpov.com. Email me or email Eddie or any of us and give us your recommendations as to what would be a better bonus or a better thing you would like to see from it. There are some things on that site that, depending on the amount of money you donate a month, you get from donating. We want to keep those things at levels where you're getting some stuff as it goes along. Remember, guys, and this next thing I say is very, very important. It's all about the little victories.
Oh, are we going to talk about Easter eggs?
We are going to talk about Easter eggs, guys. First of all, let me tell you guys what an Easter egg is. An Easter egg is a thing that a furry little frigging animal drops off in your yard on Easter Sunday.
Right.
At least that's what it was for years. And then shows like Lost came around.
Yep.
And in shows like Lost, they started putting little hidden signals and hidden gifts and hidden things inside their shows for their really super fans to go out and try to figure out and deduce. We have figured that there are people out there that really love getting involved in the show to the point where they actually want to participate in things. And that led Eddie to have an idea about putting Easter eggs in our shows as part of our network. And I will let Eddie go into a little bit more right now as to what he is talking about in his dream of this Easter egg idea, and the fact that it's all about the little victories is an indication that an Easter egg is present.
Yeah. So, all right. So here, basically it's like this, right? Our audience is by and large, probably veterans, right? For the most part. And there's a lot of non-veterans too, don't get me wrong, but there's mostly veterans. And what do all veterans love to do? We love to drink. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Drink and wear used sweatshirts worn by Jeff. But besides that, we love to hunt, right? We love to hunt, whether it's, bad guys overseas or deer at home. We love to hunt, and we love the thrill of the hunt. We love to find things and to hunt for things. And so we figure, why not come up with unique ways to add some little extra nuggets, some treasure chests. We call them, they're Easter eggs inside our show. And there's one Easter egg that already exists site-wide. And this is one of those things where it's kind of like a riddle. You have to figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, then I guess you're just not that smart. I'm not calling anybody dumb if you don't figure it out, but all I'm saying is I can't give it totally away. But I will say this: there is a Easter egg on the entire site right now, and all I can say is, how do you actually say it? Is that a Japanese word?
What, the answer to what it is?
Yeah, the what's it? The code. What's it called?
No, the code itself. All right, guys.
Don't say what the code is, but what's it called?
Say what the code is. The code is called. Technically, it is called a keystroke command.
No, the code.
Yeah. Well, you told me not to say what the code is.
No, so what?
Hey guys, this is part of what you're getting from it. Me and Eddie now are going to work this out for you guys in real time.
In real time. The code.
What it is called?
Yeah.
It is called a activation code.
No.
What do you want me to say, Eddie?
It's the Japanese word. What the hell?
The Japanese word.
Is it Japanese?
What is the name of the actual source?
It's kind of like it's kind of like Jeopardy. What is?
I will take Eddie being vaguely undescriptive.
Can I buy a vowel?
Oh, it's the Daily Double.
Hold on.
I don't know. It is based on a code that existed long ago that was utilized by a lot of people of our age group to unlock great things in a system that was utilized by most Americans. I mean,
Jesus Christ.
I'm getting ready to just say it, Eddie.
Hold on. I'm looking in our Slack as we speak right now, as a matter of fact.
You want me to say the name of the company that it's associated with?
Yes.
Okay, it's a Konami code.
Oh, thank you, for the love of God, man.
No, but Eddie, here's the thing. I think you're misunderstanding. You're really good at knowing how to get that code put in and stuff like that, but you don't realize that the name Konami code is pretty much me saying what it is.
Oh, well then let's not say that then. I just couldn't think of the word Konami.
Right.
But that's all we need to say.
Konami code.
That's all. That's it. That's all you have to say.
If you understand what that means, you can go there and get it. Now, if you don't understand what it means, and that is about as much of an Easter egg as you're going to get.
Right.
But if you don't understand what it means, guess what, guys? I'm going to backtrack to what I was saying before. That thing that you are able to unlock and get is also available on Patreon at one of the levels.
Oh, it is.
So
That's true. Yes, it is true.
If you cannot, if you're one of these dumb people that Eddie's talking about, then you can also bypass having to do all the hard work of Clarice Starling and good morning, Clarice, and finding out the actual answer by just going and being a Patreon donor at a certain level. And here's what I will guarantee: anything that comes from me as a Easter egg code will also be something that is available to the highest paying members of those sites. And that's just coming from me. I cannot speak for the other hosts because I think we're going to get all the hosts involved
Heck yeah.
putting their own Easter eggs out there. So for Jeff and for Jeff's show, now we will also cross-reference each other to help out.
That's true.
So every time you hear Jeff Adamick say it's all about the little victories, that is going to be your indication that there is a Easter egg in that episode somewhere.
In the show notes page.
Whether it's either the show notes or whether it's something I say that leads you somewhere else. And I guarantee you that I will never give you more. I will not, I will not make it like the movie, what's the one with Nicolas Cage where he's chasing down the masonry money.
Oh, you're talking about the code, the Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
I won't. Not the Da Vinci Code. It's the one where they're going after the Mason treasure. Anyway, but in that movie, they make a statement about how each clue just leads you to another clue and it goes on forever. Right. I will never make my clues more than 3 deep. But I will also.
We're talking about multi-level Easter eggs?
Yes. Well, on my Easter eggs, I'm going to send you somewhere else to find another clue for the Easter egg and then send you somewhere else. Once you have found 3 of the Easter egg clues, you will have all the information you need to deduce how to unlock the Easter egg or find the information to whatever it is
There's a caveat to that, folks listening. If you're following Jeff's Easter eggs and you find yourself in the bathroom with your shorts around your ankles, you've gone too far.
Well, not just gone too far, but you might want to consider the fact that if you're still holding your phone or your computer, that I know how to unlock your camera. And that Easter egg might not be for you. It might be an Easter egg for me.
Yeah, I'm just saying. If you end up there, you're like, you've gone down the wrong road.
You've gone too far, and you are the wrong.
You misinterpreted something along the way.
Misinterpreted something, unless you're Eddie. Or
yeah, right. Yeah.
I like to drop my pants in the bathroom so Jeff can record him. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Grandpa.
So let's give an example of an Easter egg. This doesn't exist. This particular Easter egg doesn't exist. But let's just give an example. Let's just say for shits and giggles that you and I are on a show like we are right now. And you
mean like we're actually doing?
Yeah, like we're actually doing. And you say the magic words are?
It's all about the little victories, Eddie.
Then that tells the listening audience that they should maybe find this particular show in this particular show notes page on the Change Your POV Network website at changeyourpov.com, and they're looking for something in particular on the site. What would be the indication, or what would they be looking for on the show notes page, Jeff?
Well, I would say that they can, on the show notes page, they would find some kind of hyperlinked phrase that doesn't make any sense in the midst of what it's talking about, or maybe a emoji that will link to something, or even better yet, they may find somewhere in there where there's normally regular text spelled out completely. Thank you for coming here and reading through the show notes page for your Easter egg. Here is the next step in your Easter egg hunt.
Right. So it might be very blatant. It might be in the copy of the text. It might be kind of an out-of-place picture. It will be somewhere on the show notes page, however, and you can click on it, and it will take you to. We were actually talking about like where would it take people. Here's some different ideas just to kind of get the juices flowing here. So you click on whatever that is in the show notes page, and it could take you to a blog post that somebody else has written on another site that has some incredible information. It could take you to a hidden podcast episode that Jeff has with another guest or just has by himself or has with someone else, another host on the network, and talks about some just crazy stuff, some stuff you definitely would not want to miss. Or perhaps maybe that link will take you to, I don't know, like a discount code for some really cool product for sale. Or maybe it will take you to like an opt-in form where you submit your name and your email and your address, and
you get something cool from us.
You get something cool, like maybe a Mountain Up hat or something, right? So the types of reveals for these Easter eggs is essentially endless. It could be a crazy-ass picture of Jeff doing something stupid, which I'm sure you got plenty of those stockpiled somewhere. If not, then we'll create some. But
you don't have to create them. They are stockpiled somewhere.
Right.
Thank you, NSA and
yes,
Congressional Library
for
that.
So we were talking about doing some special episodes where we talk about different things that are only going to be available through the Easter egg process.
Right. Those will generally be ones that it is a solid and manageable solution for everyone, because part of the Easter egg process, guys, is to get you involved in the show in a manner that, so those of you out there who are tech nerds like me, you've all read the upcoming Spielberg film based on the book Ready Player One, and that book is nothing more than a giant video game that was made into an Easter egg by the creator, who is a Steve Jobs type guy that references back to all kinds of 80s information, and he Easter eggs his way into the millions that the game has created. That's kind of that thing, but we're giving you an out by letting you have the ability on Patreon to get the information on your own that way. But if it is something that does not exist in Patreon, it will not be something that is so difficult that you can never figure it out. And so my challenge to you is, don't quit, get people involved. If my Easter egg on my show, and just so we're clear, my Easter egg on this show was us telling you about the system-wide Easter egg that is on the website currently now,
right?
And the Konami code hint. That is it. That is the Easter egg for the show. There's nothing more. There will be a message. The link inside the show notes for this show will just be a reaffirming that is the one and only one for this specific show. But get people involved. Start a Monday cooler talk about figuring it out. It'll be often enough. Don't be surprised if Jeff's Easter egg doesn't send you to Dwayne France's show to listen to an episode there with something else into it, because we are a community of podcast hosts who want us all to be successful and want you to get the benefit of all the information that we put out, the entertainment, the info, the learning, the processes, everything that we put out. So we want to get you guys exposed to everything. Yes, it is a trick to get you guys to be more participating in our system, but it's a trick that is going to be fun for you to participate in. We're going to have blog forums where we'll talk about stuff, maybe little hints, maybe little things there. Every year at the end of it, we'll talk about how many Easter eggs there were put out and how many were actually
I like that.
Yeah, and that way we can keep a score of who is the number one Easter egg finder. And that person may actually get something at the end of the year. That's even more than that. It becomes a competition. It becomes something that brings us together as a community. And remembering that we're all brothers and sisters, we fought and died along each other, and we don't have to stop being participants with one another just because we're not in the military anymore. We're giving you guys the opportunity for us to keep that train rolling. And for those of you who weren't military and they're in, guys like Scott Zadroga, who, is a Patreon supporter and wasn't military, or Tim Lease, who's been out of the military for years and years and years. We're still bringing them into the fold, letting them be part of it, because there's a lot of smart people out there, and this is going to be fun. This is so exciting and fun for us. Me and Eddie had a great time today doing this, and I actually showed the fact that there was an Easter egg to somebody at work, and them being the kind of coder that they are, it took them 3.5 seconds to figure out what it was, and they unlocked what they found, and they were like, this is cool. We love this. So this is going to be a big deal, so I can't wait to get this thing started with you guys past what's been going on. But, it's up to you guys. Have you guys, I just got an email from Bennett. Hope you guys are doing some good things and getting out there and getting involved with this and look for it, man. It's going to be a good time. Yeah,
we're going to have I'm going to talk to Bennett and try to figure out what our trigger is for our Easter egg keyword on our show, Attack Fridays. And Bennett and I have been talking a lot about putting together different types of challenges because people love, and here, I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to say this on your show. Bennett and I were actually going to do a whole episode about this.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you were going to say something on my show that you never told anyone before?
Yes.
You and Bennett are getting married?
No, that's still a secret, man.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
So Ben and I were actually going to do an episode about this, but I'll share it with you on your show, and we can actually add a link to it in this show notes page. But so really quick, so last summer, Bennett and I did what was called a 30-day well-fit challenge. It was just him and I, and we agreed, we made a pact with one another that we were going to eat paleo, that basically nothing but fruit, vegetables, and meat. That's it. and we also developed a workout program, a daily workout schedule that we followed, and we did this for 30 days. And every day we would both post our progress on a Facebook Live on the Change of POV Facebook page, and we did that every single day for 30 days. And I lost a considerable amount of weight. He did too. And along the way, we also provided each other challenges. So I would challenge him every week. So we had 4 challenges. Every week I would challenge him with something, and he would challenge me with something. And it was just a way to kind of get us out of our comfort zone. And one of the challenges that I gave him was to find a shirt that every time he pulls it out of the closet, it's just like it reminds him of his weight. We called it the fat shirt, right? So find the biggest fat shirt you can. And so that was part 1 of the challenge. So he did. And part 2 of the challenge was he had to burn it. He had to burn his fat shirt. And his father-in-law had like a propane blowtorch thing, like the big torches that you use to thaw your ice on a driveway or something, like a freaking flamethrower, bro. Seriously. And he took that out in the backyard and he torched his shirt with that son of a bitch. It was amazing. It burnt like the tomato plants on either side of the furnace. It was crazy. And he posted that live. He did that live on Facebook. And it just got a ton of views and reach and shares and comments, and everybody loved it. Another one of the challenge was we had to write our own epitaph, our own, our own obituary, basically. Eulogy, there you go. Eulogy. Yes, and
they keep me around, guys, because I know the big words.
Yes, we had to write our own eulogy and actually go to a cemetery, find a veteran headstone, and record ourselves basically reading our own eulogy. So
that's morbid.
Dude, I'm telling you, we had some really crazy challenges that were pretty cool. So after the 30-day challenge, we're like, oh man, let's continue this. Let's do a 60-day challenge. Let's go for another 2 months, but this time let's invite some people in. And so we reached out to the audience at the time, and we like, all right, guys, we just did a 30-day challenge. Let's do 60-day challenge. So we invited whoever wanted to participate. There was a ton of traffic. People were commenting. Everybody was like watching and digging it. But as soon as you're like, okay, now participate, we only had a couple people participate. And one of them actually was Andrew, who is the host of Neophyte in the Woods, who will be releasing his show later this year. And him and his brother.
You guys will also recognize Andrew from the show The Boys of Point to Hockey.
Yes, absolutely, yes. So Andrew and his brother Luke were the only 2 participants in the 60-day challenge, which was fine. And we did the 60-day challenge. And of course, just like the 30-day challenge, we gave these guys their own challenges. And one of the challenges, this was actually pretty clever. I came up with a challenge, and I got their addresses, and I sent each of them a $10 gift card, a McDonald's gift card, along with a QR code that they had to scan to understand what the challenge is, and I sent it to them in the mail. And so they both got their letter about the same time, and they opened it up, and they had to scan the QR code, and it immediately took them to an audio file. So what I did is I recorded the challenge on my microphone, and I uploaded it to Libsyn just so I can get the MP3 file, And I titled the show McDonald's Challenge, I think is what it was called. And I sent it to these guys, and the challenge was this, and I'll actually put a link in the show notes of this show so you can listen to the audio for the challenge. But basically, in a nutshell, the challenge was that they had to take their $10 McDonald's gift card, and they had to go to McDonald's, and they had to spend as much of the $10 without going over and buy a paleo meal at McDonald's. And they had to save the receipt and take a picture. They had to do a Facebook Live, show what they bought, show the receipt, and whoever was able to spend the closest to $10 without going over, buying nothing but a paleo meal at McDonald's, would win the challenge. So they did that. It was pretty cool. And that audio file that I created was not intended to get released. It wasn't a podcast episode. It wasn't anything like that. It was literally just a file just for them, for this one challenge. Somehow, somewhere along the way, that audio file got found out or got leaked or whatever. It's like the ultimate Easter egg I didn't even intend. And that file is actually the #1 downloaded file on all of our shows. It's been downloaded over 4,000 times. Just that one show. Or it's not even a show, it's just that one audio file.
Until the recent inclusion of the calendar photos that Eddie is
yes,
quickly rising to be the most downloaded image in all of internet history.
Right, yes. So it was just amazing to me. So people love challenges, and maybe that's why it's downloaded because it's got the name challenge in the title, or maybe they just love challenge. I don't know. So Bennett and I
think it's a mixture, man. I think it's a mixture of people love challenges, but they also love to be included and participate.
Right.
And just, people love to find out things they didn't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Almost to a fault. People love to find out their spouses cheated on them, and then they find out and they're not happy about it.
Right.
But they still wanted to find out. People love to find out, who killed Kennedy, and then they find out. Then they don't like it. But it doesn't matter. The point is, people love to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find out things they don't know. And we are here giving you the opportunity to up front to know that we are going to send you guys some really cool challenges, some really cool, hidden solvable things that you guys can figure out. And together we're going to have a little bit of a back and forth relationship where we guys issue you some really cool ways to find some cool hidden stuff out. You guys can get in on it. You can be part of that club, and we can just build on it from there. And we're going to make this thing awesome. We just, all you have to do to be a part of it is participate. That's it. And then if you don't feel like participating, or if it's too hard, like I said, we'll give you an out to get you the other thing that we want you guys to try to start being part of, which is the Patreon and helping us out with that kind of stuff.
That's right.
So it's a win-win for everybody.
Hell yeah, man.
So it's going to be awesome. That's awesome. That is the business.
I'm gonna find some incredibly risque pictures of you, and I'm gonna actually create some Easter eggs in my show that link to those pictures of you. Just so I'm just throwing the gauntlet down right now, right?
If we just said that up front, we would have the highest amount of downloads ever.
I'm throwing it down right now.
I mean, because
we're not gonna make the other hosts of their shows do this type of stuff, but we are gonna invite them. And we may invite them by creating Easter eggs that will redirect you to some crazy things about them that they may just want to I don't know, backlash a little bit and try to get us back. So they may end up participating just out of
spite,
a sheer force, out of spite. But no, it'll be fun, man. I think it's gonna be a way that. So basically, the tomfoolery, jackassery bullshit that we do on our Slack page, this gives the audience an opportunity to kind of get involved with that and see some of that shit for themselves. And so, but we want to make it like a little bit cloak and dagger, because we don't want it to be we're not going to make it overtake the intent of our message, right? It's not going to be about that. We're still going to deliver the message in its entirety, 100%. We're just going to throw in these little extra things on top of it, just kind of like it's a little bit like the sprinkles that we're going to be kind of sprinkling all over the place, all over the network.
We all know sprinkles are for winners.
That's right. Amen, brother.
Sprinkles are for winners.
There's another little foreshadowing.
That's foreshadowing to something, but that's not an Easter egg, guys. Don't get twisted.
That's true. Yeah.
So guys, we're not done with the show, but I just wanted to actually say that was kind of like the business portion of what I wanted to cover in the show today. Now let's move on to the stuff that I want to talk about, just because I want to shoot the shit.
You're like, it's 42 minutes, and that was our sponsor spot. Now we can move on to the actual content.
And here's a little attaboy to another podcast that's out there. Much like the captain from True Crime Garage says, that's enough of the business. And so now we move on to some other stuff. And here's what I want to do. I want to speak to, and Eddie doesn't have any idea that I'm going to bring this up, so I wish we could all see the look on Eddie's face.
It's very shocked and perplexed right now.
All you veterans out there that think, all you veterans out there who are sitting somewhere thinking that the world owes you something, I got some bad fucking news for you guys. Guys, nobody owes you shit.
That's right.
Nobody owes you a fucking thing. You may not like hearing it, and I don't like saying it because I've got to say it to some of you guys, but nobody owes you a damn thing. Here's what I want you guys to remember. I want you guys to remember when you joined the military. I want you to remember what it is you sacrifice. Because what thing is for sure, guys, for sure, is you're not doing it for the money. Because you ain't making no millions as a soldier. Eddie, did you make millions of dollars as a soldier?
I came close, but nope, didn't
Didn't do it. The only way I was going to make any millions for my family was by friggin' catching that RPG that injured me right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen. So my family didn't make no money off me being a soldier either. So what did we do it for? We did it because we wanted to serve, because it was more important to us to get out there and do something bigger than ourselves. And then what happens? We get close to getting retired, or we get close to getting out, or we get close to transitioning on, and we start to believe the Kool-Aid that everybody in the country owes us something.
Mm-hmm.
So we end up getting out of the military, and we sign and we cry and we complain that we're not getting treated right, and we don't get things the way that we want them to get. Guess who's in complete control of what happens to you? You are, not somebody else. So we know that there's probably holes in the processes out there. You know, VA does the best that it can considering what it has. Veteran support organizations do the best they can with what they have. Veteran support groups like wives and kids, and they all do the best that they can do with what they have. But yet some people out there still just think that they're not getting what they're owed. Let me tell you what you're owed, guys. You're owed the same thing that all them people, the American citizens, are owed. You're owed the fact that the American flag flies over your house, that you're free to say and think what you want. And you are free to do that, but you are not entitled or owed anything any more than anybody else is, because you paid it forward, guys. Don't forget that you paid it forward. And I know it's a kind of a turn in a little bit of the situation, but this is something that's been bugging me for a couple of years. If I walked around waiting for everybody to fix my problems, I would either be a statistic or I would be somewhere else. I would not be sitting here talking to you guys. We all have the opportunity to change our situation. We all have the opportunity, and we've all been taught as soldiers how to adapt and adjust ourselves to what's going on around us. What happened? Where along the line did you forget that? I know why. You get bombarded with this stuff in media about how the American people owe the U.S. soldiers something. That's between the American people and the American people. The veterans, we got to stop waiting around for people to make change for us. Not because they're not going to do it, but because it's not our job to make them work double time to assist us after we get out. It is our job, and continues to be our job, to be something that the American people look to as an example, not as something that they look to pity. In that alone, you should realize that you've got to stop this shit with thinking that somebody owes you something, and start changing and bettering yourself on your own. We have to fix our own problems as veterans. We have to do it. It starts with us. We lead the way when we go into war. We lead the way when it comes to defending the country. And we need to lead the way when we come back on how to fix and handle our own problems. Eddie?
Okay, so I can't believe you opened up this Pandora's box. So, all right, where did you work before Cisco?
Before I worked at Cisco, I was going to school at night for IT stuff, working on my own to build my resume. So long story short, or short story long, I got out of the military. I did some freaking contract work overseas. I worked for the Department of Homeland Security as an anti-terrorism agent, and I worked part-time training dogs and going to school leading up to going to Cisco.
Okay, so let's take Homeland Security. So here's what I want to talk about on this subject, okay? So you get out of the, all right, let's just forget that you were in the military, right? Everybody out there listening that's a veteran, just pretend like you were never in the Army, right? Pretend like you had a regular job, whether it be a corporate job, or you worked at a nonprofit, or you worked for a privately owned firm, or whatever the case may be. You worked at a job, right? In your case, Jeff, you worked Homeland Security, right? So there you are. You're happy working for a company called Homeland Security, and you go into the company, you fill out the paperwork, you go through some mandatory training, and you're assigned a boss, and you're working in a department with coworkers, and you get some on-the-job training or whatever. You get issued some of your own responsibilities, and away you go, right? You are Johnny, employee of Homeland Security, okay? You are working for a company. You are working for an organization. They hired you to do a job, right? And you're doing the job and you're getting a paycheck to do that job. Now, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, whether you get laid off or maybe you find another opportunity and you leave that company or you quit or whatever the case may be, but you leave that organization, okay? You leave that organization and 2 months later, you're like, you can't pay your bills and your car gets repossessed. Do you go back to that company and say, what are you doing to make sure that I have enough money so my car doesn't get repossessed? No.
No, I don't do that. And
no.
If I did do that, I'd be a scumbag.
But why? So, all right. So maybe that's not it. So maybe you leave that company and now you're pursuing other things and, and you're having all kinds of issues. Do you go back to Homeland Security and demand that they fix the issues and problems that you have with your relationships, with your dependencies, with whatever ended up happening while you were working there? Or do you go back to Homeland Security and try to and tell them that they owe you something? Right? No. Because when you leave a company, right? When you leave a company, like whatever happened at that company, like that's it. It ends at that company, right? Nobody goes back to their previous job.
Now, if you got hurt on the job or something like that, where you're owed something or some kind of negligence led you to be hurt,
right?
But and procedures to cover.
Oh, there is.
You don't ask for more, or you don't sit around waiting for them to get their head out of their ass while your life is going down the tubes. If you're productive,
right? So in a civilian organization, if you get hurt on the job, then you file what's called workers' compensation, and workers' compensation is essentially it's a third-party insurance program or organization that's the liaison between the parent company that you work for and you as the employee. And so even if you do get injured on the job and you're awarded workers' compensation, you still don't go back to the company. You go back to the workers' compensation people. That's who you now interface with. It's not the company anymore. Once you leave that company, those ties, those strings are severed, and you are no longer they're no longer liable for you and what happens to you afterwards. They're just not, right? That's why they have lawyers, and that's why they have organizations like workers' compensation, as long as they're paying for those, which they should be. If you're working for a small organization and they elect not to pay into the workers' compensation program, then they hold that risk, they hold that liability, and that's on them. But that's a different story. So, but the point I'm trying to make here is, in the civilian world, nobody goes back to their employer with their hand out expecting more shit. It just because it just doesn't. That's just not the way you do business. That's not the way it works, and everybody knows that, right? Now, let me ask you this.
You'd hope that everybody knows that.
Well,
if everybody really knew it, you and me wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh, well, no. In the corporate world, you know that really quick. If you don't know that, you learn really quick that you can't go back to your previous employer and demand or ask for shit, because I'm sorry, but that ship has sailed, right? You're no longer their employee. But here's the deal. Here's the crux of it. I tell you that story to tell you this one, just to give it some perspective.
So we went around our ass, get to our elbow. I love it.
Yes. All right. Now, you signed on the dotted line to sign up for whatever branch that might be. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, whatever the branch of service was.
All right.
You signed the dotted line voluntarily. Nobody made you join the military, right?
It's not 1963.
That's right.
There is no draft.
So you basically approached it. Now, let's face it. Let's just use the Army as an example, but you can fill in your branch as it pertains to you. Let's just use the Army just to keep it simple. So you chose the Army. The Army is a company. The Army is an organization. It's a company no different than a civilian organization. You might be called a soldier, but that's the military's way of saying employee. You are now an employee of a company or an organization. That company's responsibility is to make sure that you are trained, that you're equipped, that you have the knowledge and skill set necessary to do your job to, right, make return on investment for that organization. Now,
Right.
for most companies, that return on investment is revenue or whatever it is, the product or service that you work for is producing. Right? In the military, it's the same thing. There is a product that they are providing. It's a service. It's a service that they are providing, and that service that they're providing is the security of this nation. Okay, so they give you all the training. They make sure that you meet all of your standards, because a civilian organization has standards you have to meet as well. There's mandatory trainings you have to take. There's certifications that you may have to do. It's no different. It's absolutely, just because you're wearing a uniform, it's no different than going to some corporate organizations where you have to wear, like if you work at a hospital, you have to wear scrubs, or if you're a doctor, you have to wear a lab coat, or if you are a welder, you've got to wear a shirt with your name badge on it, whatever the case may be, right? So many civilian organizations, when you go to work, you've got to wear a uniform. Now, I work in corporate. I don't wear a uniform, but I do wear corporate casual clothes because those are my working clothes. The military is no different. You're wearing a uniform. You've got your name on it. You've even got the company's insignia on the sleeve. It's the American flag. You are an employee of an organization. They are doing their best with the tools that they have to make you successful as their employee. Once you leave that organization, you are no longer their employee. They don't owe you shit anymore. Just like
it even goes beyond that, guys, because I'll tell you what, you go up to any person that's never been in the military and you ask them to sit in on their next job interview and have them walk in and tell you, well, I worked for Johnson & Johnson, so therefore you should give me
right
job opportunity than you give a guy who worked for Merck.
Yes.
And watch them get laughed out of the office.
That's right.
Now, here we live in a world where they're not going to laugh a soldier out of the office. They have too much respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem. You have absolutely no respect for yourself if you walk in there with that attitude, because you should not have to say that. You should not say that. And you should go in there and allow your abilities, your qualifying and quantifiable tasks, conditions, and standards speak for themselves. You should be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you got jobs because you were the best at the opportunity to get the jobs. Do you have a little bit of a disadvantage by being in the military for years and years and years instead of being out there in the civilian workforce? No, you don't. You don't have a disadvantage. You have just as much opportunity as anybody else to better yourself, to learn, to make yourself indispensable, make yourself learn, teachable, and leadership-wise ability to lead anybody that puts you out there in the world. You have just as much opportunity. Nobody made you stay in the military. You could have got out at any time.
So let me tell you,
being in the military should not be a crutch that you use to help you get better. It defiles your service, guys.
I'm going to say something, and it's going to piss some people off. I'm going to say it anyway. I talk with a lot of companies and organizations, and I worked as a hiring manager, so I've done plenty of interviews, reviewed plenty of resumes, talked to plenty of people, many of whom were veterans. Here's my recommendation to companies. I tell companies, like anybody that asks me, I don't walk around, walking up down the main street, knocking on employees or employers' doors, like barking at the top of my lungs and stuff. But anybody that asks me, here's what I tell them. I tell companies and organizations to not hire veterans. I do. I don't think companies should hire veterans. I don't think, or let me say it again really, really loud so everybody listening can fully understand what I'm saying right now. If you are a company or an organization, or you're a hiring manager, or you work in HR, or you're a recruiter, I'm telling you right now, do not hire veterans. Don't do it. And I bet you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about. I'm a veteran.
I know what you're talking about, Eddie, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to clarify this before I end up on friggin' info. The two biggest assholes in the world. And let me tell you something, guys. I am an asshole by design, and I carry it well. Eddie is not, and what Eddie is saying is absolutely relevant. And what he's going to say next to explain that statement, you need to take that into account before you just hear the first half of what he said.
Yeah. So we're not gonna say listen to part 2 next week to get the answer. No.
I'll tell you right now.
Do not hire veterans. If you're a company, organization, recruiter, hiring manager, do not hire veterans. Why? Here's why. You have an obligation to your organization to hire the best candidate possible for the position you're trying to fill. Sometimes that best candidate is a non-veteran. Sometimes that best candidate is a veteran. Great, win-win. But do not hire veterans for the sake of them being veterans. You need to hire the best person for the job, regardless of whether they're veterans or not. Because here's what happens. And I've seen it, bro. I've seen it. I've seen it so many times, it breaks my heart. I see companies that hire veterans because they think they're doing the right thing, because they want to do the right thing, because their competitors are hiring veterans and they're using it as their marketing tool. Oh, we're a veteran friendly organization and we have veterans preferences and on and on and on. All these veterans. Folks, it's a marketing gimmick. I'm telling you right now.
They're trying to save money in taxes.
Yes, they do. They get tax credits and relief and all kinds of bonuses and perks to hire veterans people. They do, right? And you're not going to sit in a TAPS class and never hear any of this. You're just not. Nobody's going to sit there and give you this pearl of truth, but I will, okay? This is what we're here to do. So you don't want a job that at a company that's hiring veterans for the sake of them being veterans, because here's what happens. And I worked at a company once, and this is what happened. The company hired veterans because it was their way to put a little blurb on their website about them being a veteran-friendly organization. So they hire these veterans for the sake of them being veterans, regardless of the fact that the veterans actually had the skill set, knowledge, or aptitude, or business acumen necessary to fill those particular positions that they hired them for. And guess what? The veterans failed. Not because they were bad people, not because they were bad veterans. They just didn't have the skill sets, the experience, the business acumen necessary to fill those positions properly. And because they didn't, then the veterans ended up being a sore subject for the hiring managers or for the managers that worked in these departments. And so next thing you know, the veterans are unsatisfied and unhappy because their true skills, their true experiences aren't being leveraged. They're being asked to do things they don't know how to do, they don't like to do, they don't want to do. And next thing you know, the veterans are unhappy. The company is unhappy. The veterans end up leaving the organization to go somewhere else. And it leaves a bad taste in the employer's mouth and the veteran's mouth. And not only that, and now you got these veterans that are bouncing from one veteran-friendly employer to another, boom, 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 which only adds to the problem, the stereotype that veterans are job hoppers, that they're unstable, they're unpredictable, that they don't have any loyalty to companies or organizations, which isn't the truth. And it's just an all-around snowball effect that just it ends up no good for anybody. If they would have done the proper thing, and that is hire the person, man or woman, regardless of, because remember now, a veteran status is a protected class. It's no different than being a woman or being black or being disabled or being whatever all the other protected classes are. Veteran status is another protected class. So let me ask you, would you agree with companies hiring black pregnant women for the sake of them being black, pregnant, and women? Like, no. Does that make sense?
No, but and I don't think anyone would. All right, so if you worked in a lead smelting factory, would you hire a black pregnant woman at all, or a disabled person to work in a lead smelting factory? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, because it's the wrong thing to do. It's dangerous for them. It's dangerous for you. But yet we live in a world where we don't want to offend. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. You guys are stepping into a world where I don't give a fuck about offending you. I'm going to give you the things the way they really are, because it's better for you to hear things the way they are. It's going to make you more prepared. You as a veteran have something that other people don't have. I will give you that. You have an ability to prove that you're willing to do things for less money, for a cause that is higher than yourselves. You are probably going to be someone who learns faster, is able to address and do things that other people can't do at a quicker pace because you've been taught to do that way. But yet you fail at that a lot of times when you get out, because you've gotten this mentality put into you by the system that you're owed it. Mm-hmm. And we're not saying that you're bad people. We're not saying that you're doing something wrong. Because for God's sakes, I am a breath away half the time from having that same mentality myself. They tell us all the time. They bombard us with this thought process that we are going to get what's coming to us. You're not. You're going to get what you deserve. And that sounds like shit. but it's a really true, honest, and heartfelt statement. You will get what you deserve. You deserve to get the best. So do not limit yourself by making yourself one of these people that waits around for what they deserve and thinks that what they deserve is something beyond what they're willing to pay back.
And here's the thing, right? I'm also a mentor for Veterati. I talk with a lot of veterans, and I help coach them through interviewing and through resumes, and build out LinkedIn profiles, things like that. And what I find is a lot of veterans want to leverage the fact that they're veterans. So they'll put combat veteran at the top of their resume. They'll put, I've even seen somebody put combat veteran or veteran preference, 10-point veterans preference or something like that. You may have a 10-point veterans preference as a result of your service and your disability, whatever the case may be. But guess what? You plaster that all over your resume, and then in your resume, all you do is talk about how great you are as a combat veteran and how this and that and the other. And then you go to your LinkedIn profile, and it's all about you just being a veteran, and you need to hire me because I'm a veteran. And you go to an interview, and you sit across from your recruiter, and listen, if you have to leverage the fact that you're a veteran and think that that's going to score you some extra points and give you a leg up over your a competition that may be applying for that particular role, I'm telling you right now, like, you don't want that. You don't want to leverage that as your game changer, right? What you need to leverage is your actual skills and ability. You need to highlight the things that you do really, really well. You need to highlight the skills that you've developed in your military career. You need to develop the skills and education that you had in your courses, classes, certifications, or other higher education. The fact that you're a veteran that's just a cherry on top. That's a congratulations, thank you for your service. It's really cool that we're able to hire veterans and support the cause. But listen, that should not be your war cry. It can't be your battle cry when you're trying to get a job, because it's only going to end very poorly for you. Trust me, I've seen it.
And beyond just the job search thing, it's not something you should hold on to for the rest of your life.
Right.
Be proud of your service. Talk about your service. Go out there and tell people about the great things you did for them. But if you find yourself being in a position where you're asking somebody for something, remember that you didn't ask them for a fucking thing when you went out there and did what you did. Don't change that. Don't. Because you're not just affecting you. You're affecting all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You're affecting every single person out there who has ever put that uniform on. You are affecting every single person that ever laid down their life. The second that you try to use your service and what you did as a way to manipulate or browbeat or make somebody feel like they owe you something for it, then you are no better than the people that we went and fought against.
Yeah.
Because we're better than that. We're better than that. You're better than that. Be a better person. Get out there and do it the right way. And this is not meant to hurt people's feelings or send people out there, thinking that things are defeatist or that we're just a bunch of dickhead assholes. All right. I'm a dickhead asshole, but I'm doing it because I love you guys. I want you guys to help us get things back to a position where what we do, who we are, what we can provide as a service to these organizations and to the world is what we use to get ahead, not what we used to do or some feeling of entitlement. Every time you yell and scream about liberals' entitlement and you're out there trying to tell everyone how you're owed something because you served, you're doing the same thing, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the same friggin' thing. There is no arguing that. That is a fact. When you start to think that you are owed something for something that you are or did, that is an entitlement attitude. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Let me read you mind if I read an article real quick?
The whole article?
Yeah, it won't take long.
Well, I mean, I didn't know you could read. So
yeah.
Please, by all means.
Not only can I read, but I actually wrote this article.
Oh, you did?
I wrote this article, and we'll put the link.
So it should be in simple.
Very simple. Yeah.
You wrote it.
Yes. So the article is called "Why Veteran-Friendly Employers Are Not That Friendly: What You Need to Know." And at the end here, there's some very actionable stuff. And that's why I want to read it to get to that actionable stuff. So this way, you're not just listening to Jeff and I kind of soapbox, but give you some tangible, actionable stuff here at the end. All right. So here goes. Don't worry about it. When you get out, there are so many companies out there that are willing to hire you specifically just for being a veteran. Perhaps you or someone you know has heard someone utter those words or something closely related. I know I did. So did a lot of other guys that I've spoken to. Then the reality sets in. Many veterans don't find themselves with much of an advantage over non-veterans when it comes to securing gainful employment, even when it seems more and more employers are positioning themselves as sympathetic towards veterans. Ever wonder why? Let's take a closer look at the phenomenon known as veteran-friendly employers. Every company out there, regardless of geographic location or industry, is in business for one thing: to make money. These organizations are also aware that consumers today are far more educated and demand much more of the companies they choose to do business with, as they should. Corporate social responsibility. First, it's critical that we understand what CSR, or corporate social responsibility, is and how it plays an enormous role with organizations interested in positioning themselves as, quote, veteran-friendly. Social responsibility is an ethical framework and suggests that an entity, be it an organization or individual, has an obligation to act for the benefit of the society at large. In other words, social responsibility is a duty for every individual, expected to perform so as to maintain a balance between the economy and the ecosystems, whatever those might be. Business News Daily wrote an article called, quote, 22 Great Examples of Social Responsibility Businesses by Nicole Fallon Taylor. In this article, she states, quote, many businesses recognize the importance of being socially and environmentally conscious and will often advertise charitable initiatives such as annual fundraisers for a cause or volunteer project their staffs are working on. But companies that incorporate social responsibility into their business model prove that a dedication to these initiatives goes a long way for both the cause and for the company's reputation. According to the National Center for Veterans Analysis and Statistics of the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, we are expected to yield an estimated 3,178,426 post 9/11 veterans by September 2017. This is more than the entire population of Utah. The American people are by and large a very patriotic bunch, and with over 3 million post 9/11 veterans, it's not a very far stretch to say that most Americans know or are related to at least one of them. With so many veterans entering the workforce in the last 16 years and the millions more that are related, it has become a hot-button issue. Now organizations include hiring veterans to their long list of socially and environmentally conscious activities it performs. All of a sudden, hiring veterans is more than just a noble endeavor by worthy employers. Now, hiring veterans is expected. And in a lot of cases, it's a must if they want to stay competitive in today's market. There are many facets to corporate social responsibility, including environmental efforts, philanthropy, ethical labor practices, volunteering, and now hiring veterans. At face value, this sounds like a terrific opportunity for veterans, right? Well, unfortunately, this has the reverse negative effect. Now, instead of genuinely concerned, sympathetic employers looking to do the right thing by men and women who gave so much in service to the country, now every company in every industry is playing that card in the big game of life. This makes finding legitimate veteran-friendly employers extremely difficult. And it's not like you can sit across from the table with a hiring manager and ask them if their company cares about hiring veterans or if they just post it on their website and social media profiles to keep up with the Joneses. There are entire websites and organizations established to highlight and advertise veteran-friendly employers. Some include Military Friendly, Job Hunt, Vet Central, and the list of resources providing this type of information is virtually endless. Forbes even wrote an article in 2014 showcasing a list of employers that fit that bill. quote, the top 100 military-friendly employers. Not to be outdone, the Business Insider also did a similar piece that same year. To help employers get a handle on what it takes to be on the winning side of a veteran employment, Military.com wrote a great segment called, quote, Tips for Becoming a Veteran-Friendly Employer. Now, if you're an employer and you are not listed alongside those other employers as a veteran-friendly employer, you might as well also not follow OSHA regulations or not donate to a good cause during Christmas or not hire women. If maintaining your competitive edge and staying in the good graces of the American people isn't enough to motivate you, then perhaps a tax incentive for hiring veterans will do the trick. According to the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, employers who hire and train service-disabled veterans may qualify for incentives and tax credits. Read more on this and other initiatives afforded employers who hire veterans. Check out Veterans Opportunity to Work. What's the problem? As you can see, there are many reasons to hire veterans. So what is the problem? The issue is that many veterans are looking for a good job where they can utilize their skills, develop as a productive employees, and be afforded growth opportunities. In short, veterans want to be just as successful out of uniform as they were when they were in. Many employers, however, are just looking to be added to the list of do-gooders and bask in all their tax incentives for hiring veterans. Developing and leveraging these skill sets of the veteran employees doesn't rank all that high on their priority list. This leaves many veterans unfulfilled, leaving for other opportunities, which add to the negative stereotypes that veterans are job hoppers and uncommitted. It's increasingly important that veterans find a company that is the right fit for them and one that share in their values. So how can you do that? Well, here comes the actionable piece. You have to become knowledgeable. Here are some tips and things you can do to ensure that you're pursuing a legitimate veteran-friendly employer. Number one, read this article and understand that every employer is looking to claim that they are veteran-friendly. It is critical to their survival for many reasons. Look past all the glitter and rainbows and get to what matters. Number two, reach out to your network. Talk to some actual veterans that are currently working in the company or veterans that used to work for that company. Ask direct, candid questions of the company and ask for honest responses in return. Number three, ask these employees or former employees what education opportunities are available to veterans at that company. Number four, ask them what personal or professional development opportunities the company has, and if so, which ones did they partake in? Number five, does the company have a peer support or sponsor program established for veterans? Number six, is the company flexible in finding the right fit for the veteran or offering opportunities in different departments to maximize the veteran's strengths? Number seven, does the employer have additional tuition assistance programs to pay for or supplement the cost of higher education or certificate programs? Number eight, is the employer flexible in allowing time to attend VA or other service-related appointments? Number nine, what additional programs, if any, does the company offer to the veterans? Finally, and probably the most important, number 10, does the employer have an established veteran mentorship program? When doing your research of your prospective employer, if you can't get any positive answers or results back from this list of 10 items above, you should consider the possibility that that company you are looking at is veteran-friendly on paper only. Aside from the fancy list on Forbes and tax incentives, this company probably has no real interest in you or the fact that you're a veteran. So I know that was a little bit longer than you probably thought it was, but the link to that article will be available in the show notes page. But it just goes to show you folks, listen, everyone's going to say they're veteran-friendly. It doesn't mean they are. You need to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, and I guarantee you not a single TAPS class anywhere in this country is going to talk to you about what I just shared with you.
And beyond even that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it again. All that stuff that Eddie's talking about is after you get past yourself, after you stop putting yourself down as a victim and stop putting yourself down as someone who's owed something. Get your head out of your fourth point of contact, get out there and be the person that the military made you to be. Stop blaming others for your problems. And if you have problems, reach out to other veterans and we start fixing it ourselves now.
Take ownership and be responsible. That's really it. You got to be responsible and you got to get educated and be responsible. Those are the two things, man. If you can't do those two things, you're doomed, brother.
You're not only doomed, you're wasting everybody's time and space.
Yep.
You're being an oxygen thief. Don't be an oxygen thief. Be a better person.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys. I want to thank Eddie for coming on. I know we went from one side to the other. But what I like to do with this stuff is I like to give you guys some fun. I also want to throw some real stuff at you. I know that this is going to rub some people the wrong way. I want it to be clear that I do not have any problem with organizations who reach out to help veterans. I do not. Those are not the problem. I do not have problems with veterans who need sometimes a hand up instead of a hand out. I do not have a problem with that. My problem is with the entitlement that veterans have learned to use as a crutch, and that's all I'm talking about. So anything else beyond that, if you think I'm saying something else, you're obviously not listening. You need to work on something yourself on how to friggin' be able to critically think and look at things the right way. And I won't say it any other way than that. If you just don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. I know what I'm saying. Eddie knows what I'm saying. And deep down inside, you know what I'm saying. You just may not like hearing it right now because it applies to you. It only applies to you as long as you allow it to apply to you. Remember, guys, as I've always said before, that your life is within your hands. You have nothing in your life that is anybody else's fault or anyone else's problem. You control everything that happens to you and everything you do. Do not oppress yourself by letting yourself be drugged down into being one of these people, all right? De-oppressively bear, free the oppressed. I'll see you guys next week. Eddie, thank you for coming on, sir.
Thank you.
And now we're going to leave you out with some really cool music and that beautiful little princess of mine retelling you guys about Patreon. See you guys next week.
Change your POV and all of its shows can help and heal and even educate. We want you to help us help others. Visit our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/changeyourpov. Become a patron of our network and our mission.